It is almost time to head back to the States. I got a couple more days left here, hanging out here in beautiful Cartagena. As you can see, we got the beach basically right behind us. In this video, I actually wanted to talk about why, as a nurse, I'm pro-abortion. Even though I'm a nurse and I do believe in many of the tenets of Christianity, I still do believe that people overall have the right to choose if they want to abort their kids, especially leftists. And the reason why, if you're a person on the right, why you should be pro-abortion and pro-transgender and all these things, is because actually when you look at the life expectancy of many of these people, they're actually quite short. I'll leave a link below to some research that shows that by and large, most people who are transgender typically don't make it past their 30s. They have a very, very short life expectancy, whether this is, something that they're born with, or it's something that is passed on via teachings, via molestation. You see a lot of young men who are molested as a young age are often rapists, or they themselves end up either gay or demented in some way, and usually it cuts their life expectancy a bit shorter. Now, people tend to propagate this sort of thing, may believe that it's related to depopulation, which that very well could be. And if you're foolish enough to fall for it, very much like what happened, with the jab, if you believe the propaganda and unfortunately you exit this world, it's typically because there was something within you that you weren't able to pass on, the ability to see past the rhetoric, the ability to see past the propaganda. And as a result, you were selected out via either natural selection or via an unnatural selection. If you weren't smart enough to see the writing on the wall, as they say, and your choice forced you to exit this world, then that was basically your problem, and you weren't able to pass that on to your children, and other individuals will learn from your mistake and they will become stronger. Many people who did not opt to take the jab, as time goes by, become reaffirmed by what they see as a result of not taking the jab. They become more reaffirmed in their belief never to trust the state, can't trust doctors, can't trust scientists, right? You can't trust the science, as they say. And so when you look at those who push for either feminism or leftist ideology, there is diminishing returns over time, especially because these people believe in things that will force them out of this world sooner rather than later. And so as someone who was, I guess, would be considered more right-leaning, I would actually push them further into their beliefs, because in the long run, over time, I know that they'll weed themselves out, and that's what I want. I don't want many of these people who espouse leftism and socialism and communism to be able to propagate their beliefs to the next generation. Why would you? That's why they go to the school systems, because most of these people don't have kids. And so what do? They propagandize your own kids, right? That's why they go to the public schools. That's why you look at many of these people, what are they? They're teachers, right? Because typically most of these individuals don't have children. They're not successful enough in life to be able to find a man to have and to have children. And so what they look for is they look for other kids. That's why you see the transgenders and the gay people pushing very much for you to bring your children to their neighborhood so that they could pass on sort of their teaching to the next generation. And so,
as your internet angel, as your NB parent of the webs, let me tell you, you're doing great. I know it doesn't seem like it. And I know it seems like, well, I'm just making a cheesy video and I don't really know you and all that. Blah, blah, blah. Set that stuff aside. I do know if you need a place to be and to be safe, you can do that here. My page is your family. This is a family. I know a lot of you have been stuck for months with a family that is not good, that is not respectful, that is dangerous even. You are safe here. You deserve a kind, good, loving, accepting family. And this is it.
And so people who espouse that, they bring their kids there, and eventually, of course, their kids turn out to be just like them, and unfortunately, their lives are cut short as well. And I'm in my mind, if you're foolish enough to fall for the propaganda and you foolishly bring your child into that, well, then that is their problem. As someone who would be considered more on the right, where the right should be focusing on is homeschooling, right? Because if you realize that the propaganda is within the public schools, within the government schools, that are nothing more than indoctrination camps, then obviously the smart decision would be to remove my child from said situation, so that I know that I would be able to educate them in what I believe will further their existence, will further our genes, and we're able to pass on and to live on moving forward as a community. That's one of the reasons why I'm very much pro, like if you're against the whole narrative of what goes on in many democratic states, the best thing that you can do is actually to support them. The problem is many people on the right they're conservative and they want to conserve the system. And the problem is that the system is completely broken. It needs to be broken down and, as they say, build back better. But by forcing the left to adopt many of the policies that extend the life and the community of the right, you in essence perpetuate the problem. And so that's why, for whatever it is that goes on, that is obviously, if these states believe in anti-police and anti-gun, I wouldn't go out there and try to dissuade them, because we know what the outcome will be. The outcome will be was that these people will end up killing themselves and basically removing themselves from the equation. And so the less people that you have to deal with, the better. And eventually over time, as you continue to propagate your genes, and you obviously have the ability to teach your children about why this is the right way to go, you then weed out these individuals by nature. And so sometimes you have to be willing to cheer your enemy on. Who was it? Napoleon. Napoleon was the one that said, never interrupt your enemy when you know he is making a mistake. And that's what the right is doing. The right is continually watching the left make all of these systematic mistakes that will lead to their downfall, and they continue to interrupt them, and it perpetuates the problem. And that is why you should be pro whatever the left is in their state. If they're pushing for whatever it is, whatever ideology, whether it's trans, LGBTQ, no guns, defund the police, I would be going into their state and I would be cheering right along with them, so that it does do what we know the outcome will be, which is it will limit the left, they'll destroy themselves, and we'll be able to inherit, as they say, the earth once they're gone. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. And had actually wanted to make this side point that I just thought about at this moment when let me move here into some better light. I was actually thinking about this. You actually already see what I'm talking about being done by the Republican Party. So when the left was pro-immigration, right? What did the right do? What were Texas and many of these other Republican states doing, right? They were sending all of these Hispanics or whoever it was that was coming through the border, and the left is like, yeah, we're pro-immigration, right? But what did they do? They sent them to all these Republican states, right? They were sending them to Florida. They were sending them to Texas. And so what did they do? They put them right on the bus, and they say, hey, if you're so pro-immigration, we're going to send them right back to your state. And what was the outcome? Now you see the governor of DC talking about we don't have enough resources to manage all of these people, right? And so the outcomes are falling upon them. And so what will eventually happen? You'll see more crime. You'll see more poverty in many of these areas, and these individuals will lose their power. And so the right is already doing that, but you have to keep on going in that direction. I just wanted to make that point that you're actually already seeing that now being taken place within America.